Welcome back to the only teams that matter. And right now, in Yankeedom, in Yankee Field, in the Bronx, Bronxville, there's only one guy who matters, and it's not Kevin. It's Jasson Dominguez. Who were you surprised he was called up?
No, they've been hinting at it for a couple of weeks. Like Aaron Boone basically looked like a kid in a fucking candy shop when they asked him about it, and he was being coy about it. I'm like, that's interesting. And then it happened. He came up. So no, I wasn't shocked by it. If you had asked me that question 2 months ago, I would have been shocked by it. Though. I would have been shocked by it.
Well, it's not a team I love giving credit to, but they started the year. It was kind of shocking. They started the year with Volpe. They didn't really give themselves other options, also. But I feel like the Yankees' whole thing is like Florio. They're like, oh, we're going to tell you about this guy in 2018, and you'll literally never see him. So I kind of just expected that to happen to Volpe and Dominguez. Like it was hard to be worried about people I couldn't even prove really existed in the real world. But Dominguez comes up. His first at bat is a guy literally twice his age, but future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander. Was it the first pitch or just the first at bat?
First swing,
Yeah,
second
first
pitch,
first
first swing.
swing, deposited over the wall, and I feel like that's the first of set as high or lower for his career right now. Dingers.
700. 700 over, higher,
He
over.
is a lefty, so if he learns over his 81 home games to hit 200-foot pop ups to right field, yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you.
Yeah, and he plays in Boston a few times a year. If he learns to hit them 300-foot pop ups to left field, we cooking with something.
No one on the Yankees has done that in my entire life, so I don't know why that would start today. Maybe Matsui. I feel like Matsui was smart enough to go opposite field at Fenway, but I don't
But
remember
Dominguez is a
anyone
switch
else.
hitter, bro.
I know it's annoying. I keep forgetting that part of it.
He's a switch
Uh,
hitter,
I
bro. Yeah,
I do keep forgetting that, and
yeah, he's a switch hitter.
that's just infuriating. I mean, if
I love it.
from everything we've heard about him, the list of all-time great switch hitters isn't that long. Like he
It's
could
really not.
very easily find himself on that list within 5 years.
I hope so. Like it's like Chipper Jones, like Mark Teixeira, and like a random like five other guys. I
Victorino.
guess Bernie Williams you put on that list, and then I feel like there are a few others I can't think of right now that I would
It's
probably yeah.
it's not a lot. It's obviously very hard, especially at this level. But
I think most people just shouldn't do it personally. Because I think most people shouldn't do that shit because most of them it's like there's one side they clearly can't hit from. Excuse me. So like why do it? Like oh just so you can say yeah I hit righties when lefties come. Yeah, but your batting average against them is like 210. Like you might want to just scrap it or try something different maybe.
yeah, I mean, when Victorino was in Boston, they were like, "Hey, how about you stop hitting lefty like permanently?" And it's just
And he
better. I
did.
mean,
He did right. Yeah, and it was like,
yeah,
why you don't hit well from that side of the plate? Like you're not presenting anything good for your team. Like it's not. Oh, it's for the matchups. Yeah, the matchups favor the opponent.
right. How does he profile? Is he better from one side or the other?
As of now, he's better from the left side.
That's what
I
I
haven't
figured.
heard anything that says his him from the right side is going to be any kind of issue, but he's better from the left side.
Yeah, which isn't the worst thing. Most pitchers he's going to see are going to be righties throughout the
Hey,
rest of his life, so that's
right.
probably the side to focus more on.
He's going
Um,
to terrorize him. I can't wait. It's great.
like, why did he slide so much in the prospect rankings? I know the national prospect rankings aren't the end all be all by any means, by any stretch. I don't even know if the Yankees have local guys like with the Red Sox. We have Sox prospects. They just only dive into our minor league system and they're tremendous. I don't trust like the national rankings of like the Red Sox top 30 on Pipeline and their top 30 will be wildly different. And I'm like, I'm going to go with the guys I know only eat, sleep, and breathe Red Sox minor leaguers versus the national, like Keith Law. I can't imagine how difficult it is to track 30 teams prospects. Like
Bro, I
it's
could barely track one.
yeah, right. You're talking about thousands of people. Like it's not a
I could
job
barely
for
track one.
one
I don't know how
person.
they do it. I really don't.
Yeah. A lot of it's word of mouth. A lot of it's like obviously seeing some of these guys. But is there a Yankees equivalent to Sox prospects? Is there anyone who like devotes all their time? Because it's not
I'm
like
sure there is. I
yeah,
don't know of them, but I'm sure there's somebody or multiple people who do that type of stuff. I haven't paid a lick of attention to them, so I couldn't tell you. That's actually a good idea to actually pursue because I would assume that those people know more. I would trust them more than the Keith Laws of the world, who it's more research based than actually being there. Which, and I'm not knocking guys like that; they do
no,
well
of
at their
course not.
jobs. But yeah, the guy, there's something to be said for the people who are with them every day, who are
Yeah.
following them every day, and they don't care about shit but them.
So there
But as
was
far as
no.
go
Oh,
ahead,
sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say there was no
yeah,
concern when he dropped. What was he last year in like the 30s when he was 19,
yeah.
and then he dropped into the 70s,
I
like
don't
the
know
mid season.
why he. I don't know why he dropped because it. And I'll say this as a Yankee fan. Oftentimes, Yankee prospects on those lists are overrated. I don't think
For
there's
sure.
any other way to go about that. Oftentimes, they're overrated, right? So then the guy who they called the Martian 4 years ago being the one who slides is kind of weird. Like it never made any sense. I'm reading these lists and it's like nothing really changed here. So I'm not sure how
Right.
he was like 28 last year and now 75 this year. I don't know what changed. I don't know if they're just tired of him. I don't know if it's prospect fatigue. I'm not sure because prospect fatigue does kind of set in on these prospect lists sometimes. So they're just kind of like, all right, man, if he was this that, and third, why the fuck isn't he in the majors already? But, like, I feel like Royce Lewis is the oldest 23-year-old I've ever heard of in my life. Because I feel like I've been hearing about Royce Lewis for a decade. And
Been
they're
a
like, oh,
while.
he's getting the calls. Like, oh, he's 21. Like, he's what? I've been hearing about him for 15 years. What you mean he's 21? But yeah, even he dropped down a list, a couple years. But now, obviously, the caveat with him is that he's always hurt. But he dropped down a list even before like the torn ACLs were coming left and right. So maybe it's just fatigue. I don't know. It never really concerned me because you look at the numbers and he looks like a 19 or 20-year old. Like there's going to be ebbs and flows, whatever. I wasn't really concerned, but I found it to be strange, to be honest.
So this year, he played most of the year at Double A, 109 games. His OPS was 781, which hadn't been in 2022, was never that low. He had a 907 OPS at high A, he had an 813 at low A. And then in 2021, I mean, he played 56 games, and they were all in Florida, so those don't even matter. Um, so yeah, his OPS dropped a little against better competition. I watched these. What are this? Somerset Pirates. What's your fucking Double A team?
Good question.
What?
Bro, I just know that bro. I know who's at Double A and I know who's at Triple A. Don't ask me to name the teams. Like I think Trenton Thunder is one of them, if I'm not
Trenton
mistaken.
Thunder was definitely, it definitely used to be. I don't know if it still
Yeah, I
is.
don't know if they still are. Just I am horrendous with minor league teams' names, all of them. Like the Chattanooga Lookouts is the only one I remember. That's it. And I have like four of their hats. That's probably why.
Yeah, Somerset Patriots, not Pirates. Excuse me.
Okay.
I saw them 2 days ago. I went to a Sea Dogs game
Yeah, I saw
up
that.
here in Portland, and at this point of the year is tough because you're either getting guys who just got called up from single A who are just adjusting, or like everyone's moved up right now, so it's guys who are just stuck there who really aren't that great. So it was interesting. I saw an insane catch, like one of the top five catch I've ever seen. Someone robbed a home run. That was sick. I'm trying to think what else happened in that game. The pitching was just okay for both sides. There was like one guy started throwing 95, and I was just like, oh. And then I found out it was Wyatt Olds, who was supposed to be part of the Red Sox actual bullpen this year because they acquired him from Kansas City. He just shouldn't be in, and his ERA in Double A was like 9. So I was like, all right, I don't. He can throw hard. I don't know if this is this
I
is
don't
the
know if
guy.
this baseball thing is for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know like part of it's rehab. I'm pretty sure, but I was like, oof. Um, but yeah, the minor league baseball is a wild scene. I want to do more minor league baseball next year because you see, like I've been up here for 3 years now. The Sea Dogs field is 15 minutes from my house. I didn't go see Casas. I didn't see Rafaela. Myers there right now. I think he's banged up, so he wasn't playing in that game. Blaze is there. Had a couple loud outs, but nothing crazy outside of that. But the minor league baseball is insane. Like every night's a promotional night. There's always something
Yeah.
going on. The
Mhm.
tickets we got were like $3. Like it's just not real world. I'm like, what's going on here?
It's really not. It's really not. But Blaze Jordan? What's his deal? Like, what's he been up to? Like, I know the power is real. I haven't really read much else about him. But what's his deal?
Yeah, the Powers kind of played at every level this year for the whole. Across multiple levels. He's got an 832 OPS over 441 at bats. So he just keeps kind of doing that. He's in his age 20 year as well. Not everyone's Jasson Dominguez and gets fast tracked to the big leagues. Um,
Yeah, not everybody is him, like Jasson Dominguez. No.
Blaze might be. I mean, career, he's got 1,000 minor league at bats, 834 OPS. So he's kind of just been this guy the whole time. There have been ups and downs. Like he's been streaky. Typically, right when he gets elevated, he's the little streaky. Like even this year, once he got to how long has he been in Double A? So he got 165 bats at Double A. Uh, what's his OPS? Why it's not that's his fielding's third advance. I don't really care. So right now, yeah, 40 games. His OPS is below 700. It's 669. But I know he just had like a crazy cold streak to start, and then he just hit 6 home runs like in a bunch. So he's got 18 home runs over the year. And Salem's really the test for our power hitters, um, because it's like I don't know why they built it this way. It's impossible to hit home runs there. So, like when Devers was coming up, all I kept reading was like, "Listen, he's hitting home runs in Salem. You can call him up tomorrow. He's fine. Like the power will translate." So this year he hit 12 home runs in Salem over 73 games, and he had a 918 OPS. So when I read stuff with like that, I'm like, okay, like I'm the adjustment to Portland this year, he'll be fine. I have no doubt he'll be fine. With him, it's more like, and I know I've talked to him about this, like, are you going to be a DH? I know he came up as like a third baseman, or he came into the league as a third baseman. They don't love the glove. He was playing first when I was there. I'm pretty sure he pretty much exclusively plays first now. And Casas is like 2 years older than him, so he'll be a DH most likely, or which would kill me because I believe in Blaze Jordan. It would kill me, but he's probably one of our better trade chips going into the offseason.
Or they could do what I would like them to do. They could trade Triston. I think that's what they
No,
should do. I personally,
no.
they could get a really good return for him. I think they should do that. They should consider it.
Honestly, and like no joke, I'm not even saying this because it's him. I don't know that they could get a good return for him. First basemen league wide have been tremendously
That's true.
devalued,
That's true.
and
That's true.
you
That's true.
saw that with the Mets trying to move Alonso at the deadline. They weren't getting any nibbles at all there to the point where they were just like, all right, we're not going to trade him just for shits and giggles. Like he just hit his 40th home run yesterday or today.
Today.
That's not a guy you can just give away. You know what I mean?
Right. But yeah, first base, yeah, you are right though. Um,
But
Cassis doesn't play third anymore, right? Like not
uh,
even like to spell Raphael. Like he
no,
doesn't
I
play
mean
third.
he was
Okay.
drafted as a third baseman, and then I think he put on like 40 pounds of like muscle. So I can't
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah. True.
he'll ever be
Yeah.
in third. And it's like this year too, Casas has taken a lot of strides at first. He had some fuck ups earlier in the year, and he worked through them. So first is everyone acts like first is just this easy position, and I'm not saying it's center by any stretch.
Right.
When you've got people like our entire left side of the infield like skipping balls to them, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Uh,
It might be the easiest position. It might be, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Like, yeah,
right.
you can get depending on who the bat is. Yeah, you could get away with some bullshit at first. Like, yeah, you'd prefer it to be there as opposed to third or short or center. But it doesn't mean it's easy because, as you said, your infielders like to skip baseballs and shit. I watched Jason Giambi play baseball, and I'll touch on him a little bit later. Um, I watched Jason Giambi play baseball for a long time. Listen, I watched Mark Teixeira play baseball for 1 week after Giambi's gone. I was like, wow, this is what it's like. Wow, God bless Giambi. Love the bat, but man, the guy couldn't field, bro. Couldn't field.
Yeah, a terrible first baseman. And I mean, the Red Sox have had no stability at first. I'm trying to think, like since Euclid, like
I'm not gonna. Oh yeah, well you went back to you. I thought you were gonna say period. I was like, I'm not gonna take this Mo Vaughn erasure, bro.
no, no, no,
I'm
no,
gonna take
no,
this
no.
sitting down.
I mean, it's Mo Vaughn was here for a long time. Uke wasn't even there for a long time. Like there hasn't been a mainstay at first, like a guy who's like, this is my bag for a decade. It's even I don't Mo didn't even get a decade. Like we have kind of had a revolving door at first my entire life, and it's tiresome. I'm very tired. Like Casas, we've had other Triston Casas. There was Lars Anderson. There was Sam Travis. Like there's been a lot of guys who have come up that are like, oh, this is the next. That's why so many people didn't believe in Casas, and when he got off to a cold start, they were like, oh, it's just another one of them. Now Sam Travis and Lars Anderson, those guys didn't have like international success like Casas did literally last year. I don't think either of them were first picks either. I can't remember where Travis went, but I don't think either were first round picks. So there were obviously differences in between them, but the Red Sox haven't developed one in a long time. They haven't signed, like Napoli was there for a couple of years. Hanley was there for a year. Moreland was there for a couple of years, and even he was brought in to be a backup guy. Millar wasn't there crazy long. Like they tried to sign Teixeira. The Yankees outbid him by like $1, and Teixeira was like, I will take that dollar. And it wasn't the worst thing for us. It wasn't a terrible thing that happened to us. But yeah, we haven't had stability at first. I'm excited for Casas to stay here because since May 1st, and this is from Tyler Milliken, he tweeted this out this morning, which I appreciate, 96 games for Triston Casas, 362 plate appearances, slashing 297, 390, 543. That's good for a 933 OPS. 19 home runs, 16 doubles, 47 RBI, 149 runs created plus, weighted runs created plus. Ninth in OPS, eighth in weighted runs created plus in baseball, and currently sixth in OPS in the American League for the season. That's factoring in the slow start.
I'm not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of this development at all. Like I've long believed in Triston Casas, and I thought he would terrorize us. And he got off to the slow start, and it was like, I think the storm is coming. I don't know when, but I think the storm is coming, and it came faster than I thought it would come because he's here and he's doing this, and I'm just like, thankfully the Red Sox are not very good yet. Like, give it a year, maybe 2 years. But boy, he's gonna be so annoying when they're actually good, bro. He's already annoying and they're not good. He's already every time he comes to my mind, oh god, he's gonna hit a rocket somewhere. Just hope he gets right at somebody. Like that's basically what you got to do with Triston Casas at this point.
That's apparently what just happened. I don't have the. We're recording while the Red Sox are battling it out with the Kansas City Royals. Sale's on the mound right now. I hope he leaves under his own volition. I hope this is his last start of the season. Shut him down. It's not like I'm expecting him to be a 1 or a 2 next year, anyways. But what are you to gain from him making these September starts in a season that's over?
Are you not trying to compete?
The Red Sox aren't. They loudly quit that Astros series. Like, what's the opposite of quiet quitting? Like screaming, shouting. Quiet. They've just packed it in, which is fine. Like I was under no guise that this was a World Series team at any point. Even before the trade deadline, I was screaming sell, especially James Paxton, who has been dog water since the trade deadline. The worst pitcher I've ever seen.
Buddy, and Paxton, I traded for him in the league right at the deadline. And
I could have told you that was bad.
I mean, he was a throw-in, to be fair. It wasn't like, it was just like, okay, I need like a fifth guy. And buddy, I'd rather have somebody in the waivers, bro. Like, it's been terrible. He's been awful.
And I've seen a couple people be like, you should bring him back. I've seen some people say give him the qualifying offer. That's insane.
That's what? Ain't the qualifying offer like $20 million?
$20 million. You can't do
it. Bro, if you give him the qualifying offer, he will accept it like before you can finish the sentence. James,
Correct.
we want to give you the qualify. Accept. Yes. See you next year.
The only way I could like, because he's in a weird spot. I think he's 34. If someone were just offering him more years, even if it was like less, obviously it wouldn't be like no one's giving him 360. But if someone was like, here's 345, he may take that. But no one's going to give him that if he has a qualifying offer attached to him.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like once you assign the damn qualifying offer and you lose a pick to sign him, like
Right.
who's gonna go for that?
No one. Uh, but I've seen a couple people be like, you should bring him back. This is his first year back. His arm's getting still stretched out, which is all true. I wouldn't be shocked if he was better last year for longer, like not just for a month and a half, 2 months, however long he was good for. But
Mm.
that, like, the people who hate Heim have always hated Heim and we're never going to change their mind. The people who love Heim have always loved Heim and we're never going to change their mind. I'm in the latter camp. I've always been a Heim guy. The the one thing that's really pissed me off with Heim, and I would say this to his face, is holding on to James Paxton. Like you were given a free gift of a prospect haul that James Paxton has never deserved in his life. And he just held on to him. I understand we had a lot of injuries with the pitching staff. I understand what selling would say to your manager in your clubhouse. There were other options, like taking those prospects you immediately got for Paxton and shipping them elsewhere. Seattle was interested in getting another starter. Why? I don't know. They have plenty of starting pitching.
That is not their issue
They
at
said they
all.
wanted another one. Send them there with a couple other prospects. Get one of their young controlled arms. If that's who they don't believe in for this run, great. Pounce on that. I understand it's trade deadline day. You got to be working the phones for a lot of different things. It's easier me sitting on the couch, not talking to anyone to say that. Not selling packs. You also don't have to wait for the deadline. There's a lot of GMs who just wait for that day. That's always infuriated me.
I agree. I don't know why they procrastinate, especially given like the last week before the deadline. How much is really going to change?
Right.
But like, let's be like, occasionally somebody rips off a 7 game winning streak and the outlook might change. Okay, how many of those exist? And how many of those is just everybody's the same? Like we didn't learn shit about you in the last week, and then you wait until the deadline, or you could have been like the Yankees and wait until the deadline and did nothing, which was befuddling.
Uh, Very funny though. Um, I don't very much. I understand teams selling. I understand why they would want to wait it out. Like maybe someone's offer gets up tremendously, but that's the part where if I were ever a GM, and I know this isn't going to happen, but if I were ever a GM, like you know this from playing fantasy with me for a decade. I lead with my best offer. If there's no deal to be had, we're done. I'll move on to a different team and give them a similar offer for a similar player. But I'm not going to be like, oh, here's my 15th ranked guy for your ace pitcher. Does that sound good? I feel like that's what all these teams do. They lead with shit, and it just takes longer than it needs to take.
Yeah, and it's just like what made you think that's what pissed me off about the Yankees' first pursuit of Garrett Cole when he went to Houston, and it was like allegedly, if you believe the stuff that was reported, the offer the Pirates were willing to take was Miguel Andujar and Chance Adams. Now, Miguel Andujar's career has gone very, very, very south since that. Understood. I can speak like this because I'm not revising history. When I first saw the report, I was like, why the fuck didn't you do that? So I can speak like this. You had a guy with no position, and then Chance Adams, who always profiled as a reliever, no matter what the Yankees were trying to, no matter the bullshit the Yankees were trying to sell you, always profiled as a reliever. So you picked up the phone to call the Pirates. I'm assuming that's how this went. They wanted to give you Garrett Cole, mind you, who it wasn't the Garrett Cole we know now, but
For
he
sure.
finished like fourth in the Cy Young voting for the fucking Pirates. So obviously he there was something there. Obviously he was picked number one in the draft. There's something there. You picked up the phone. They wanted to give you Garrett Cole for that. You're like, no. Why did you pick up the phone in the first place? Like, what did you think you were going to get him for? Is what I don't understand. It was cost controlled pitching with 2 years of team control left. Who throws high 90s? Now they had him throwing sinkers for God knows whatever reason in Pittsburgh. But what did you think you were gonna? What did you think you were gonna get him for if it wasn't that? Why waste time?
What year would this have been? 17?
When did Cole go to Houston? It was 19, right?
No,
19 was no 18. 18. Sorry, 18. 18. It was after it
Andujar
was after
was
Alduar's rookie year. Actually, was
because
Alduar's rookie year was 18, so it was 19. It was 19.
he wasn't on that team we beat in 18.
He was. That was his rookie year.
No. The Astros.
No, I don't think so. Was he?
Eric Cole. 18, he got traded. The winter of 17 going into 18, he got traded to Houston. So he was on that team.
Okay. Well, either way,
Because,
Alduar
like
was
you're saying, 2 years of team control, he was in Houston for 2 years. So
right. Okay.
by
Yeah.
18, or I guess 17 is when these trade talks would have happened. Winter of
Mhm.
17, trade deadline of 17, whenever. Andujar at that point was projected to be like an everyday regular for the Yankees. Where they weren't sure, but the bat, I mean, Andujar, Sanchez, I understand where they were being like, we have two insane power hitting right-handers, like that's going to do damage for a while. I understand not wanting to part with them. I know you were never a big Andujar guy, so I know it's not revisionist history for you, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's insane to think like, hey, the Pirates are really stupid. They're not a smart organization. We'll give
Yeah.
you Adams and someone much worse than Andujar. And that obviously didn't work out. But I have no idea what Houston gave up for him. Let's
It
find
was
out.
Joe Musgrove and like Colin Moran and like a third person, I believe.
Michael Felice, Jason Martin, Colin Moran, and Joe Musgrove. So Musgrove's not terrible, but he's also not even there anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And he got better once he left. Go figure.
Much,
Go
much.
figure. That never
Uh,
happens.
but I mean, talking about how the Yankees are planning to approach this particular offseason, Hal came out and said something about exactly that we both found quite interesting.
He did. So how mentioned that he's gonna essentially he didn't say verbatim, but they're gonna get a consulting firm to look into the Yankees analytical practices is how I read that. I, let's go with that. Um I get the first step is admitting that you have a problem, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go with that. The first step is admitting you have a problem. I don't know if this is just admitting you have a problem or gaslighting. I don't know. I genuinely can't tell you because businessmen do this type of stuff. Like they will lie to the consumer's face and then after it's done be like when they're off camera or whatever. Like that's what they do. So I don't know if he's gaslighting us or I don't know if he means this shit.
To
If
be
he's
fair,
yeah.
he's kind of covered his own ass here because he said we're looking to bring in possibly. There's no commitment here for any of this. He's
That's
like,
true.
maybe we'll consider it. Is how I'm reading it. It's like, yeah, we
That's true.
we're gonna hire someone and then tell them actually we do things the right way already. You can go now.
And it's like if it was damn near anybody else, I'd tell you we really don't have to dissect his words and look into them like that. But it's Hal Steinbrenner, so I'm gonna say, yeah, you have a point here. Yeah. So the first step is that maybe you have a problem. I guess they've done that allegedly. Like as you pointed out, some of the words are very non-committal in nature. Like it's just like maybe, possibly. We could like it's nothing. They're not committing to shit. So who knows where they're actually going? But let's pretend, for the sake of argument, that they are. They're going to commit to it. They're going to do this stuff. Now, that begs the question: what's the GM there for? If this has to be done, what is the GM there for? Because this is part of the GM's job: getting the right people, getting the right analytical people. And the Yankees have been on bullshit for 2 years now. Like, quite frankly, bullshit. Whatever we want to attribute the bullshit to, separate topic. But they've been on bullshit for 2 years. So the GM is still here, and I'd be shocked if Cashman got fired. I don't think he's getting fired. The best I could see here for those who are dying for him to get fired, I'm not one of them. If he gets fired, he gets fired. If he don't, he don't. I don't really care in either direction. The best I could see is maybe they quote unquote promote him to president and then bring somebody else in so he's not technically fired and he's still in the organization, blah, blah, blah. But why is the GM there? But that aside, I, maybe I'm being irrational. I will lead off with that. The words consulting firm together just don't give me good vibes. I'm sorry, they just don't. I'd rather you just say we're gonna. If Howard just said we're gonna look into what we have going on and we're gonna adjust accordingly. this segment of this show wouldn't even exist. They'd be like, all right, man, cool, you got it. Once you start talking about we're gonna get an outside firm, like does that? And then people have pointed out like the Astros did it in 17 and it worked, and I'm sure other teams have done it and it's worked. I'm sure.
I don't even know that I could like the Astros doing it in 17. I'm not going to all of a sudden point to and say that's where all their success came from.
Oh
Like
no, no,
that
no, of course
that
not.
also coincides with like all of their players maturing and hitting starting to
But
hit their
I mean,
prime.
the Astros tanked for like 10 years, bro. Like
Right.
that
Yeah.
helped. Like the Astros tanked for like 10 years, so yeah, that also helped. But it, to be fair, they did it. It worked. So fine, we have an example to point to at least. But it just, do I think Hal's going to bring in the right people and the hiring process is going to make sense? I don't know. That's part of the reason I kind of don't care if they fire Brian Cashman. Do I think Hal's going to hire the right people? No. There's nothing. There's nothing that gives me the vibe that he's going to hire the right people. Hal looked at last year's Yankees and thought, "Yo, I'm gonna open the checkbook for a pitcher." That wasn't the problem. That was not the problem. The Yankees had an OPS that started with like 4 in the ALCS, bro. That was the problem, and it wasn't some small sample either. The second half of the season, the Yankees' offense was Judge, me, you, and some bumps. Like that was it. That was offense. So it was just you thought like, all right, I'm gonna pay $160 million for a pitcher. Why was that the takeaway? Like I'm supposed to believe that Hal is self aware enough and aware enough of his surroundings to hire the right people who are then going to hire the right people for the Yankees. Color me pessimistic if you like. That's fine. I am pessimistic when it comes to this particular topic. They have a problem though, so that's good at least.
Well, even like if you were saying we're going to hire new analytics people, like at least you know they're going to be there as permanently as people can hold a job. Saying you're going to bring in outside people to look at what's wrong means like the people who already work there are probably going to be like, we don't really care what you have to say. Like you don't work here. You're just kind of brought in here for a little, and then by the end of the off season, you're gone, and we'll revert back to our old ways. I do think because I mean this was a big Heim thing too. He was just like, we fell behind. The Red Sox were at the beginning of the millennium
Mm-hmm.
on the cutting edge of analytics and against the rest of the league. And then after they started winning, you rest on your laurels and other teams catch up and get ahead of you. And that was a big thing Heim was emphasizing, especially this last offseason. It was like, yeah, a lot of what we've done has been internal, looking at ourselves in the mirror and being like, we're not doing what we need to be doing on a developmental level, more so developmental than on a day-to-day major league level. And then you've heard pitchers all year, like Shane Drohan's been one of the big risers in the organization this year because he was like, yeah, I no one ever taught me how to throw a changeup. I just threw my fastball slower. And no one had heard him say that out loud before. And because that is his changeup used to get
What?
fucking rocked. I think a lot of pitchers do that. I don't think a lot of pitchers know, like I think most people, like how many dominant changeups are there in the league right now?
Not many.
Right. Like I think a lot of guys don't really know how to throw it. And I grew up watching Pedro talking about changeups, and he was like, "Yeah, my hand's massive. I just hold the whole ball." And it's like, well, not everyone can do that, Pedro. So that's not helpful.
Pedro
So
would be an awful pitching coach, bro.
he's
Like he'd be
terrible.
an awful pitching coach.
He's a great hype man because he says
He'd be an
everyone reminds
awful
him of
pitching coach,
himself.
bro.
But
Yeah.
yeah, in terms of like, yeah, just it's like Jordan. It's like, yeah, well, I just shoot the ball, it goes in the hoop. Why have you tried that, Michael Kidd Gilchrist? Yeah, I have, sir. It's not working for me like it worked for you.
It's like Barry
Um,
Bonds, awful hitting coach. It's like, yeah, why can't you just hit the ball 485 foot play? Like I do it all the time.
it's even worse than that. I was on Instagram the other day and I saw uh, someone break down a quote from Barry Bonds, and this is when he was with the Marlins as their hitting coach, and he was like, "I don't." He's like, "I don't hit the ball. I catch it with my bat." And everyone was like, "The fuck are you talking? What does that mean, Barry Bonds?" And he's talking about like, listen, the pitcher has to throw it from here to here. If I'm not there, the catcher still has to catch it. So I use my bat to just catch it. And like I kind of see what he's saying, but to him, he's acting like, oh yeah, I go to the store and I buy milk. That's where the milk is. Like that's not how the rest
Right.
of us
That's not how it
interpret
goes
it.
for the mere mortals, bro. It's not.
Yeah.
Like it's not how it goes. Catch the
And
ball with your bat. Like I get what he's saying in like on the surface of it, but it sounds insane though because it's coming from him. And like it's just yeah, you could do shit like that and talk like that. Like fucking Christian Yelich can't. Like good hitter, really good hitter. He can't though. Like that's not him. Like he's a
it,
regular good hitter, not one, not arguably the best one of all time.
right. And there was the guy who posted it was trying to break down. He was like, even I'm just guessing. He's like, this is what I think he means, and he's like trying to like break it into swing mechanics, and it's just like, yeah, and it's one of those things where someone that good, it makes perfect sense to them, but and they're internalizing it and then saying it in a way that makes sense to them, and it's just like, yet no one else can do that though. Like you can, you're right. I guarantee you're right, but no one else
Right.
can translate that into something you can repeat on a game to game basis.
Like your process and my, I'm the mere mortal. My process is just not ever going to be the same. You might as well be talking Japanese at that point. Like, yeah, we're talking about the same thing, but yo, you speak in a different language that I could understand and actually act on.
There was another video I was watching recently. I don't think it was Reggie Jackson, but it was someone of that caliber, like all time great caliber. And they were just saying like, I only ever looked fastball when I went up there, and I always find that interesting, like the batter pitcher dynamic, like trying to guess which pitch is coming and all that. And he was like, again, I don't think it was Reggie Jackson, but one of the all time greats like that. And he was like, because if it's not a fastball, it's something off speed, which means I have another millisecond or whatever to react. But if it's a fastball and I'm looking curve, I'll never hit it. So I just always sat fastball, and if he hung a curveball, I was on it. If he threw a fastball, I was on it. I was never late, and that always fascinates me because you do see guys take horrible swings because they're up there guessing, and if you're always just sitting dead red, it really takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, Jeter was similar. Like he would say all the time that look, I'm looking for a fastball down the middle, bro. That's what I'm looking for every pitch of every at bat is what he would say. And it worked for him. He had a Hall of Fame career, one of the best shortstops of all time. Worked.
No doubt. It comfortably worked. As bad as the, like, even me, a Red Sox fan, I see people talk about Derek Jeter, and I'm just like, all right, the conversation swung too far to his
Bro,
unplayable swill. It's like, all right, I get it. Like, he
bro.
overrated because he played for the Yankees? Of course, like, of course he is. He won 5 rings. He was a
I think it
huge
depends on
part.
who you talk to. Some people criminally underrate him too. Like I think it depends on who you talk to.
No, I think that's what the conversation is now. Is he is
Right,
criminally underrated? Like
right.
that's how far it swung.
It's
People reacted too harshly to him being like he was never grossly overrated either. Like he's in that conversation. He's one of the 5 best shortstops of all time. Were there players who he played with in his era who were better at their peaks? Of course. That's not usually the argument. Has anyone had a
whoa, whoa,
better
whoa, whoa. What do you mean at their peaks they were better? Excuse me?
he played
Like
next to
who?
one. He pushed him to third base.
Okay, besides him. Besides him. Who else?
Nomar at his peak was better, no doubt. Now his peak was much shorter, like
I'm gonna hand
way
in my
shorter.
resignation papers to no
I want to
no
call
you're right no
I know I am.
I was winding you I was winding you up on that one, but the I think my least favorite thing about the Jeter discourse, my least favorite line in the Jeter discourse is when the naysayers get to be like, oh well, if he played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, we wouldn't care. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Like number one, that's not even necessarily true. Would he have 5 rings? No. Like that I can tell you. No, he wouldn't. Obviously. Cool. Brother, Pete Rose might be the single most overrated baseball player to ever exist. Where did he play? Where did he play? In Cincinnati, bro. Like,
He played in Philly too,
exactly. But he made his bones in Cincinnati,
for sure.
right? So like we talk about Tony Gwynn all the time. He played in San Diego. When you grade, it really doesn't matter that much where you play. Is his
But
stature elevated? Yes, not arguing that. But if he had 3,500 hits in fucking Kansas City, we'd still care. Less, yeah, sure, but we still care.
I think it's much less because a lot of Jeter's lore is tied to postseason success and
For sure.
individual moments he had in the playoffs. So that's
Mhm.
where it's like, yeah, if he played for the Royals and never made the playoffs, because even Gwynn made a World Series with the Padres. That's
Sure
part
did.
of like, and he got fucking mopped up out of there, but he did that with the Padres, so it is what it is. Um, he has. I mean, Yankee fans overrate him, but that I don't like. That doesn't bother me. It's their guy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Of
he had
course,
3,500 hits for the team. Of course we do. Like, you know,
right.
of course. I get that.
And it's like I've had plenty of non-Red Sox fans be like, I think Edgar Martinez was a much better DH than David Ortiz, and I like immediately am like, this isn't an argument worth engaging in because they're going to use his regular season OPS, and I'm going to point to him hitting grand slams in the World Series and in the ALCS, and they're going to call that a small sample size, and it's just a pointless fucking argument to have.
It really is.
Edgar Martinez was incredible. David Ortiz was incredible. They're both in the Hall of Fame. I don't think they give a fuck what we think about them.
That's true. And Edgar Martin, I hate the pure hitter talk because it's hitting. People talk about hitting like they talk about scoring in basketball, and it drives me insane. Like, I don't give a fuck how pure your 2 points are. Just tell me how you score. Like, when you score them, rather. Just tell me when you score the 2 points. I don't give a fuck how pure it is. And it's like David Ortiz hit how many home runs? Like 600, 500.
No, it's like 540.
Why did I say 600? Oh, it's 540. Okay, so I wasn't that far. Okay, I was like,
No,
where
no,
did I
no,
get
no.
600 from?
Not
Okay,
terribly far off at
yeah,
all.
not okay. So like, I'll take the guy who hit 540 home runs over most people. But I don't think that should be. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that. He was a great hitter who hit 500 home runs. It's not like, Adam Dunn. Adam Dunn was really really good at what he was, but you know what I mean. Like, he wasn't for those who care about batting average. Like, Adam Dunn was the 230 guy. Like, David Ortiz was consistently around 300. I'll take that guy all day. He's one of the best hitters of all time. Period.
Ortiz, he was at 541, by the way. I don't want to,
541.
not the Red Sox front office. I'm not trying to shortchange him here. Yeah,
541.
541 in a career 286 batting average, 931 OPS, 141 OPS plus. Like, that'll do. That'll do just fine.
Like, one of these episodes we got to do just like a best hitters of all time kind of episode, and David Ortiz is going to rank pretty highly for me, and some guys that people love are going to rank pretty lowly. So there's that sneak peek.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the guys you rank lowly, some of them are going to infuriate me too.
Oh yeah.
But
I
when you
can't wait.
when you talk like pure hitters stuff, to me, I know other people won't think this way, but I think like Vlad Senior, like free swinging, not really concerned what a strike zone is, like not really concerned if the ball even reaches home plate in the air, um, and a guy who it's a bizarre comparison because the power isn't even remotely the same. But I was having this conversation the other day with somebody. When I look at a guy like Rafaela, who the Red Sox called up last week, that's kind of the big knock on him is he chases pitches, and all you hear is like when he gets to the major leagues that won't work. Are we sure? Like, I understand, but I also don't think teams are going to go up there and just be like, hey, just throw only curveballs in the dirt. Like, that's not going to happen. They're going to look for holes in any player's swing, of course,
Right.
but there are certain guys who, if you try and rein them in, which they did at the beginning of this season in the minors with Rafael, they tried to get his chase rate down and all of that, and he was just bad. Like, even pitches in the zone, he just wasn't hitting. And then they scrapped that. They said go back to what you were doing, and then he started raking again. I think it's like wild horses. You can't rein all of them in. And I'm not saying Rafael is going to go on to have 500 home runs and play in the big leagues for 20 years, but certain players just play baseball. It's for every sport too. Certain quarterbacks, like if you try to put Mahomes in the pocket, you said never use your legs. You'd be wasting a lot of Mahomes.
Yeah.
There are other guys too. Like, I think of Rogers. Rogers is an all time great. There are a couple of games I think he's been responsible for the Packers losing because he was a little too cautious. Like, that happens. Chris Paul too. I think Chris Paul cares a little bit too much about his assist turnover ratio, and that's cost him some games over the course of his career. Obviously, there are still Hall of Famers, like first ballot, no doubt. Sometimes you just got to let it rip. And some players have that mentality. Always let it rip. I think Rafael is one of them. Would it be great if he never went like full Javi Baez? Like there are for sure there are negative examples here too. It's not all positives.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Plenty
There's a
of
lot of negative examples here.
Johnny Football is a let it rip guy. Doesn't always work.
It
For
does not
sure.
always work. It does.
Some guys that has to be part of their equation. It's the anti bit like Bill James is like you can put a refrigerator at second base, it will work. Like pay him $5 a year. Like trust me, this is the same thing as every other second baseman. No, you. This is part of using analytics too. They have to be individualized. If you paint with a broad brush, you're gonna miss a lot.
And conventional just does not work for everybody. Like
right.
there's 1,000 different ways to succeed, especially hitting wise. Like not everybody's gonna do the same stuff. I mean, we just granted one example. We just talked about Barry Bonds speaking Japanese when it comes to hitting just not too long ago. You know, like his process is different than somebody else's process. Somebody else's process is different than the next person's process. Like guys who are free swingers, like is it harder to succeed that way? Yeah, well of course it is. You'd rather everybody have Juan Soto plate discipline. Okay, but not everybody's Juan Soto. You know what I mean? Like not everybody is that. Everybody succeeds in their own different way, and it's a delicate balance because you can ruin somebody like that if you try and get them too far off of what they do well and their strengths and their weaknesses. And that's why some organizations are better at developing their players than others, because it's like you hear Bill Belichick talk, and Bill Belichick has one of the most basic quotes that sounds like the most genius shit ever, because a lot of NFL coaches are fucking stupid. He's like, you know what? I get guys in here and we try and do what they're good at. And it's like, wow, mind blows. Like, yeah, it's the most duh shit ever. But a lot of teams don't. A lot of teams just like, all right, yeah, we're gonna try and make this guy a plate discipline monster. Like, yeah, we all love to have everybody have 400 OBPs. Right. It's not gonna go that way. Some guys are just not built for that. And if you get too deep in their head, you might fuck up the prospect. You might fuck up the player. So it's just you kind of got to let them be them at some point, or there's a happy medium, I'm sure.
That probably, and it's different player to player, but every pro, every college athlete, me myself at my very low level of athletics, you play the worst when you're thinking. Like that's for practice. Practice is when you think. In the game, you never want to be thinking ever. Like it's all needs to be reaction. It all needs to be what your preparation has you ready for in that moment. So in practice in the cage and all that, yeah, be thinking away. By the time you step in the box, if you're thinking at all, you're already out. Like you have no chance up there.
Facts.
And you brought up Adam Dunn, which made me think I think we're watching a prime Adam Dunn season right now in Philadelphia with Kyle Schwarber.
All right, we're selling Adam Dunn a little bit short. A little bit short. A little bit. Like Adam Dunn was running like 240-ish batting averages and all of that. Like Kyle is in the ones.
I don't want to hear about batting average. I don't care.
Hey, listen, I don't care about that. But if we want to go by OPS plus, the same point applies. He's smoking him there too.
Prime he is. Done. He is.
But like I love Kyle Schwarber. Like I love players like Kyle Schwarber. Give me more of those. Love.
It's a very exaggerated Dunn season because you're right. Sure. Dunn was a monster, but he's got 39 dingers, 38 singles. Love that.
And a negative WAR. My
nope.
guy.
Nope.
Oh, it's not negative anymore?
+2 positive.
Oh. Why am I disappointed by this? Anyways, yeah, I'm disappointed by this. Like I was looking forward to Kyle Schwarber hitting like 48 home runs having a negative WAR. I was so looking forward to that.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some funny business going on here, if he was really like a -10 WAR, but they're like, we'll never let no one will ever take WAR seriously again if someone hits 45 home runs and that's a negative WAR.
I mean, shit, we lived through the Dante Bichette years. So, I mean, granted, that was the 90s, but we lived through the Dante Bichette years. And Dante Bichette was running, he was running like 980 OPSs with like negative WARs. It was like, how is this possible? Like, how bad can you be? like if you just like, do you actually feel like the refrigerator that Bill James was talking about? Is that how is that why you have a negative WAR despite having a 980 OPS or whatever the fuck Dante Bichette was running?
So Dunn, I'm looking at prime Dunn now from '05 to '08. He had 40 homers on the dot every year, 4 straight years of 40 homers, which is very funny, which is surrounded by a 46 and then two 38s on both sides of it. So he was just 40 homers a year for 8 years. And yeah, his OPS plus, I mean, it's not terribly different than what Schwarber was doing. Obviously, he peaked at 141, but then he was down to 114, then back up to 136, down to 131, 132. So he
What's
this
Schwarber at
host,
right
I think 114,
now?
118.
Oh, okay.
So
Last time I checked with Schwarber, he was at like 103. That was like a month ago. So he's done well for himself since. Okay, so the comparison is not as bad as I thought it was.
no, he's going to finish the year with like, I mean, I can't put a limit. He might hit 50. He might hit
He
4
might.
like
Oh,
home
he might.
runs. Like he's at 39 as we speak. He could finish anywhere from 39 to 55 home runs. Him hitting 16 home runs in September would not shock me in the
At
slightest. If
all.
you just
Not
tell him
inside.
it's June, he is going to go on a tear again. Uh,
Listen, they need to get a sports psychologist in there to brainwash him, or somebody to brainwash him. Just be like, all right, let's get Kyle to think it's June every month. How many home runs would he hit? He did 100
uh,
home runs, bro. Like every month is June for Kyle. He did 100.
it's over 80. There's no doubt.
Like
I'm
if
just
we'd be asking who Barry Bonds is, bro. Like if they if they just told Kyle Schwarber every month is June, we'd be asking who the hell Barry Bonds is. That's how good Kyle Schwarber would be.
But right now he's sitting at 86 runs, 88 RBI. He's going to be like 4500 100 and while batting a buck 90. Like that's an unbelievable
I
thing.
kind of get.
I'm not saying give him the MVP, but there should be an award. Like I don't know what the award at the Adam Dunn award, I don't know what it is, but Schwarber deserves a piece of hardware he can put on his mantle and be like, that's what I did.
It's a really hard thing to accomplish. It's a really, really hard thing and I love
For a
him.
competing team, no less. This isn't happening with
Oh,
the
they're
like
hitting
MJ
him lead off every
Melendez.
day. They're hitting him lead off every day, bro. Every day they're hitting this man lead off, and it's just like, all right, listen, we think we could go up there and get a 1-0 lead just like that, and I respect the hell out of it. I do. Like I like how the Phillies get down. Like they're just like, hey man, fuck that defense thing, bro. We're trying to hit the ball out the park, and we're trying to pitch well. We ain't like this defense stuff like that. That shit is for the birds, bro. We're trying to hit the ball out the park, and we're trying to pitch well. The Braves are like the super duper turbo powered version of that because them dudes are machines.
Listen, the Braves. I mean, was it our first episode we were talking about MVP or was it second episode? Um, and I am. I do think I value moments as much as the rest of your resume when it comes to MVP. Every sport, not just baseball. Like I do think rising to moments, having signature moments you can point to. Like Mookie Betts when he won it in 18, he hit that grand slam against Toronto, and it was like we can that was like May, I think. I was like, we can shut down this MVP talk. Like it was like an 18 pitch at bat, and then he ends it with a grand slam. It was like, okay, this is his this year. Like, sorry everyone else for coming out. It's over. Acuna going into Mookie's house. It was in LA, right? It was in
Yes,
it was in LA.
it was.
And just being like, as a matter, I've heard the conversations. I've been dealing with some other off the field stuff. The country was about to deport my girlfriend, so I had to marry her real quick. I'm actually still that guy. And he just did it all weekend. I saw somebody, I can't remember who the fuck said it, that was like, am I the only person who thinks this 30-60 isn't that impressive because of the bases? Other guys could have done it, this, that, and the third. And it was just like, hey, why are we immediately trying to shit on something that's incredibly cool? Like, what are we doing that for? B, no. All the people who traditionally stole 60 bags or all that, they couldn't hit 30 home runs. Like, it's just
That's
not a thing
that,
that they
and
can do.
that's the point. That is the point. Like that's what I saw that same tweet. I forget who. I saw multiple people say it, and it's like, all right. Do I get that the stolen base part of the equation now is different? Yes, yes. Duh. The rules change, obviously, but bro, the impressive part is that he's doing both of them together.
Right.
It's not the fact that he's just stealing the 60 bases. That is what it is on its own. It's still fucking impressive. I don't care what the rules say. It's still impressive stealing 60 bases, but hitting 30 and stealing 60 is the point. Like, does that make him better than other people who didn't do it? No, I guess. Like whatever, whatever you say on that one. But like immediately going to shit on it just because the rules are different, it's kind of like just appreciate it. Because guess what? Even if you want to say, okay, well, it's different now. Da, 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 the man is still having a one of one kind of season, and he just went into LA. And listen, I don't think John Carlos stand aside because he's an alien. I don't think I've ever seen a 450-foot home run hit as A, low, and B, hard as the one Acuna hit yesterday. That shit left the park in a blink. And they were like, yeah, 454. I'm like, what? It was insane. Like, he walked into, I was like, oh, I heard this Mookie MVP stuff. That's cute. And then just terrorized the Dodgers the entire weekend. I mean, they played tonight, right? Yeah, they played tonight. So he might terrorize them more.
Probably. I mean, it was the hardest hit ball all season in baseball. One thing I haven't seen, and because it was so insane, I'm not surprised. It was 3-0 count. It wasn't a good pitch to swing at for a 3-0
I
count.
didn't even know it was a 3-0
It was a fastball low and away. It was a strike, but that's not like a normal
like
pitch
if
to
you're
be.
the pitcher, what the fuck are you supposed to do in that situation? Like
Nothing.
low and away, and you're like, all right, I can't throw this guy too good a strike, but I'm not just gonna
Right.
put him on first. You throw a dotted fastball at the corner, and he's like, okay, 450, dead center. How about that? Eat it. And then you're just like, tip your cap, man. There's nothing to do with him.
They played at Colorado on the 30th. His OPS was 982. Right now, he's up over 1,000 after 3 games against the Dodgers. He's homered in every game. His first one was a grand slam to get into the 30-60 club. Has he stolen any? He's stolen 2 bases in the series. Uh, he's got 6 RBI over these first 3 games of the series. Just 1 double, so you'd like to see a little bit more there. But 3 home runs, grand
I think
slam.
we'll be okay with the 3 homers.
He scored what 4 runs? Yeah, 4 runs in 3 games. He's doing all right. He's doing
He's doing,
quite all
he's
right.
doing okay. And like, if baseball had a most improved player award, he would win it, or at least to me, he should win it. And I know we knew Acuna was great. Like obviously, and I know people have a lot of trouble with the thought that an already great player could be also the most improved player. But bro, he sliced his strikeout rate in half. In half, he's striking out 12% of the time, bro. Like that's a legit. That's in Tony Gwynn territory, like in that area. Like Tony Gwynn was at like 9, he's at 12. If he's gonna strike out 12% of the time and make good swing decisions and hit balls on the outside quarter 40 to 50 feet, what are you supposed to do with him besides pray? What are you supposed
Right.
to do?
He leads the league in plate appearances and on base percentage. So he's getting up more than anyone, and he's getting on more than anyone, which is preposterous. Uh,
I hate how much I like the Braves team. I really do. I really
why
do.
would you hate the? What about the Braves would lead you to hate them as a Yankee fan?
The chop?
Okay, so like fans, yeah, the team you
Yeah,
hate,
yeah. Also the team. The
yeah,
Yankees beat the Braves ass all the time. I don't care about them like that.
right,
And that was
yeah.
the '90s. That was when I was a kid. Like, and they beat them all the time. I have a lot of fond memories of the Braves. Outside of Tom Glavine, fuck Tom Glavine. But the rest of them are cool. Fuck Tom Glavine. Tom Glavine was getting 2 feet off the plate in every. You know, we're not going to start on Tom Glavine. This is Friday. Boy,
He leads the league in runs, hits, stolen bases, and caught stealing. Let's be fair here.
how many
Uh,
how many times did he been caught? Like 15.
11. So he's 63 for 74. He's going to set his career high mark in walks. Right now he's at 71.
How
The
many times
career
did he strike out?
74. So he's almost at a 1-to-1 there, walks to strikeouts. Last year, for reference, he walked 53 times, struck out 126 times.
Yes.
He's never been this close in walk to strikeout ratio. He was 21. He only played 82 games, but 21 he was at 49 walks, 100 or 85 strikeouts. 20, which was a short season for everyone. He 38 walks, 60 strikeouts. 19 was his last like truly elite. It does feel like we've been robbed of a lot of prime Acuña, even though he's still
Yes.
only 20 fucking five. That's
Yeah.
because of the injury and him trying to hurry back so he could contribute because he wasn't really there for the World Series when they won 20. Yeah, they won 21 after he got hurt.
It's
Uh,
insane. It's insane that they won a World Series with him injured. That's madness. But yeah, it happened.
and then last year he rushes back because it was still a really good team and he wanted to contribute. And I mean, it was rough early. Like he for sure came back too soon, but he's an
Yeah.
alien, so it really hasn't. I'm glad. Like again, I'm not a Braves fan, so like the MVP means nothing to me. The NL MVP's never meant anything to me, but I'm just glad for baseball. Injuries like that, I know we've gotten to a point in the future where it's like, oh, it was an ACL, right?
Yep.
Yeah, ACL tears have become easier, but like we
We
were
just look at
saying,
ACL tears like they're bruises now, bro. Like it doesn't even like we just think everybody's gonna come back and be okay. That's just yeah. A lot of them are, but some of them aren't, bro.
right.
It takes some time.
And not only aren't, but it's like we're seeing what he's doing. I mean, 63 steals is preposterous, regardless of the error rules or base size, any of that. Preposterous. That easily could have, like, he could have just been a power hitter. You know what I mean? Like, it could have easily just been like, all right, well, he's lost one of his electric tools, and that would suck. That would truly
Yes.
suck. Him leading the charge for the stolen base renaissance we're watching has been so much fun and a huge part. Again, I've been on this rant all season. People point to the fucking pitch clock as to why everyone's interested. It no one's up there like I haven't heard a single team. Maybe it'll happen in the playoffs. I haven't heard anyone counting down on opposing pitchers. Like I haven't heard anyone really focused on the clock. The players are cool again. There's so much
Yeah.
young talent in
Yes.
baseball right now. That's why people care. That's why people are reinvested. Baseball hasn't snitched on themselves in a while and fucked things over for themselves. It's coming. I have no doubt it's coming. That's just what
Yes, it is.
baseball does.
It's right around the corner. Yeah.
But for right now, like I think the shift ban's been of all the rules I can point to and been like what's helped play the shift ban. Even me, like people who are still watching, even when you would see teams load 8 guys on one side of the bag for someone,
Mhm.
there were just certain plays that I grew up for 25, 26 years watching, like up the middle. There was a stretch there where guys would hit it up the middle and it was an out every time. Like that was
Every
insane to me. That sucked so much because I was so conditioned to be like, oh, base hit. And then the camera would flip around and it's like, oh, here's fucking Tulowitzki just scooping it up, throwing it to first. Like, ooh, this sucks. Like, I get it. Like, I understand why the defense is doing it. But yeah, make a rule. There's illegal defense in every sport. Baseball had no illegal defense rules. Now they do.
and everybody's made rule. Like at first, when I heard about the proposal, I was pissed off. I was like, "Why am I? Why are these teams being penalized for preparation?" And then I'm like, every sport has made rules for entertainment reasons, all of them. So it's like, all right, the Major League Baseball decided to make their rules for entertainment reasons, and it's been a rousing success. As you said, MLB is gonna get themselves into some bullshit. Like we know how they
So
do. Like
fast.
it's right around the corner. But I think it's everything in totality. Like the pitch clock matters. I think it matters more when you're at the game. I think it's more noticeable when you're at the game. When you watch it at home, it's like I don't really care if you pitch in 10 seconds or 15 or 20. Like it doesn't register to me. It registers at the end of the game when it's like, oh, it's 9:30 and it's over. Okay, that's great. During the game, I'm not really pressed about the time, but also like I've been doing this for a year, so I'm conditioned about it at this point. So, but yeah, and the stolen base rules helps. I'm not gonna. I don't know how to compare it, but like, I feel like there's more athleticism in the game now. I mean, it also helps that they can show it. They can show it now on
Yes,
the
right.
bases. That helps, and I gotta give it to Rob Manfred. Like this is gonna be the only time I ever give that man credit on the show. The only time, mark it down. Yo, the rule changes have really helped the sport. Can't knock it. Gotta
What
give
I
it to
don't
him.
what I don't like about the rule changes, they've changed like 7 major rules in the last 3 years. It's hard to point to one thing and be like, that's the one that matters the most because there wasn't any data to prove what
True.
was the
True.
factor. If they had sat on the pitch clock and just waited, I don't know that you'd hear anyone complaining about the length of the games this year. Like, I really, truly don't. Um, the one thing that I think the reason I point to the shift as being the most influential change is it changed the very way every single team, really outside of the Mariners and the Mets, as they've admitted, um, approached at bats. Like once the shift rules came, it was just like, all right, we're going. Every team was like, all right, we're doing three true outcomes, and it sucked because not every player is capable of playing that way, let alone 30 times nine. You know what I mean? There's not
Mm.
that many people who are like home runner strikeout, home runner strikeout. Like it sucks to watch. And the ghost runner, I think, was big because I'm not a guy who cares how long a game is, but when you have extra innings melded with three true outcomes, yeah, everyone's just going up there and swinging out of their shoes. The second they introduced the ghost runner, I know you hate bunting, and I'm not the biggest fan either, but you saw teams remember how to play small ball, remember how to just hit singles so you could score someone from second as opposed to just swing for the fences and playing 18 inning games all the time. Like, yeah, I understand why that turned people off. Now you get the shift out and you see people actually swinging for singles again, actually swinging for doubles, actually getting Acuña on base. And yeah, I'm going to go steal second. Duran was the same way in Boston. Like you've seen it all over the league this year. Guys just being like, now all I have to do is get on base because I know second's mine. That's so much more of an interesting product. They tried to like NBA-ify the MLB. They tried to like, hey, what if everyone in basketball or what if everyone in baseball played like Steph Curry? And it's like that doesn't translate. That's not how this works.
Listen, I get that everybody is more informed now. I understand that, and I'm very pro information. This is not anti analytics, so please do not at me. I do not care. Do not at me. It's not anti analytics. I will say the entertainment side has never been a problem for me. I've always been entertained as far as baseball and basketball goes. Like the three true outcome stuff has never bothered me. The 3 point shot has never bothered me. The repetitiveness of it, I understand why it bothers other people though, because it's just everybody's going after the same shit, especially
Right.
in the NBA. Like in MLB at least, like you're not going to make Luis Arias a power hitter, like, and I get that he is one of one in his own right, but there there are plenty of hitters who don't have power who are running around MLB and are gainfully employed, and you're not going to try and make them power hitters and they still survive. Like the NBA is like, yo, if you don't shoot threes as a team, you ain't gonna win. Like that's just how this works. You are not gonna fucking win. Threes and layups. Everybody's hunting the same stuff for the most part. It gets repetitive. I get why people are bored by it.
That's why I appreciate guys like Durant and DeRozan, who are just like, they're not even guarding the mid range anymore. I'm going to shoot 70% in these shots. Like, yeah, that's awesome. Like that, the individuality of players is what makes sports sink or swim. And it was big in the '90s. Like, too many of us know who Ken Caminiti is, despite the fact that like he played on the other side of the country his whole
Yes.
career,
Yes.
because it was an individual. Like baseball, basketball really can't happen much with football, but baseball and basketball, you lost a lot of individuality, and it's starting to come back, especially more so with baseball this year. It's really pronounced itself, and that's kind of why I really appreciate Scherzer being like, if I get, and it might not even end up being a problem for him, but if I get called a ball because of the goddamn pitch clock in the playoffs, I'm going to kill somebody. And that's exactly how every pitcher should feel.
He's a maniac. He's a maniac. I appreciate Max. Sure, he's an absolute maniac. He's a lunatic. I love it.
The if the pitch clock sabotages a playoff game, I think everyone should hate it at that point because there's no, and even he was like, listen, if they just want to make it like three strikes, we're gonna call it. You know what I mean? Like not three literal strikes, but first one's a pass, second one's a warning, third one, like, listen, I've warned you already. I have to call it. I think
Right.
that makes more sense too, because going up there and just potentially deciding a World Series game on a pitch clock violation would really suck.
I think they should have given them a few more seconds. Personally, I feel like that's kind of the happy medium here because I feel like if you give them 15 seconds, I feel like most people are going to get the pitch off in that time frame.
For sure.
Whereas 10 seconds, there are going to be some close calls in the playoffs. Let's put it that way. We're going to see because, the tension of the moment, da, 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 there are going to be some moments where a guy wants to take a breather, walk around, not pitch right then and there, and they're going to get violations over it. There's going to be a time or two where that happens.
And it's like the one part I don't know why I was the only person shouting this. There was technically umpire discretion for a pitch clock my entire life. Like they could always call a ball or a strike if a batter wasn't getting in a box or if a pitcher wasn't throwing a ball. They could have always done that. And so like people blaming players for not getting on the mound, this has always been the umpire's fault. They've always wanted to blame the players for something the umpires had complete control over. They could have easily told Josh Beckett to throw the fucking ball, not just stare a hole through the catcher's mitt because he was messing with the base runners. They could have easily just been like, you know what, that's a ball. Ball two.
They can. But they never would because of the slippery slope.
What's this like? He throws the ball?
No, the slippery slope is now you got to do that shit for everybody. They didn't want to. Like now you got to do it for everybody. Now, granted, like there were a few really egregious people, like Josh Beckett. Another one that comes to mind randomly because I've lived in New York my entire life. I watch a lot of Steve Traxel, brother. I don't think anybody has ever pitched slower than Steve Traxel, brother. Like a Steve Traxel game would take 5 hours. It didn't matter who the opponent was. Unless he got bombed in the first inning and left, a Steve Traxel game, you're gonna have to buckle up and sit down. It's gonna be a while, but it's like to slightly go off on a tangent with the rules and umpires. You know what rule pisses me off that umpires used to use their judgment calls, but they don't anymore? Ground rule doubles. It's like, bruh, and I'm going to go back specifically to one. You know which one I'm going to go back to. The damn one in Game 5 of the ALCS when Tony Clark hit the ball into the corner. And anybody would have scored from first. I don't give a fuck who it was because it was 2 outs. Anybody would have scored from first. Oh, guy got to stay at third. They lose. And we know the rest of the fucking story. But it's like, bro, if Acuña is running from first on a ball to the gap, it bounces over the wall. Can we just use some common sense? Like he was going to score. Why? What are we doing?
I saw recently them use their discretion to let someone score. They were on second, to be fair. It wasn't first to home. It was second to home on like a ground rule double. But they used the discretion.
Right, but they give you score. 2 bases. Regardless.
Not always. I've seen plenty of times where there was a guy on second and they put him on third.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Because there wasn't anyone to push him home.
Oh, I've never seen that.
That's the way they argue it. Like there was technically no one to push him to home.
Oh, but somebody used their discretion. See, we need more of that. Brett Gardner off at the crack of the bat, running his ass off. Like, oh, you got to stop at third. The ball bounced over the fucking wall. Fuck out of here. He's not score. You know it. I know it. Everybody know it. Unless he died between third and home, he was going to score. What are we doing?
Who was on first when Clark hit that?
I want to say it was Ruben Sierra. I could be very wrong about that.
That was who was in my mind.
I want to say it was Ruben Sierra.
Like, it wasn't like your speediest player.
No, it was 2 outs.
It was 2 outs.
He was going to score. I could have scored. You could have scored. Everybody would have scored.
I feel like they got that one right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet you do. I mean, granted, the Yankees entered the 9th inning with the lead 5 fucking times in that series, so it shouldn't have mattered. But correct. We've talked enough about that series. We've talked enough.
I've some time just opened up for me.
I've got plenty of time. And time has closed for me, buddy. I'm not talking about that no more.
Oh man,
Jasson Dominguez about to terrorize the Red Sox for the next 15 years, and I'm very here for it.
Maybe. I mean, listen, him being as short as he is, like there's going to be a part of me who doesn't fear him as much as I should because he's 5'4". Like it's very strange. He's that good of a power hitter, looking like a bulldog. Like it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, he's about to be Dominican Mookie Betts.
Could be.
He's about to be.
I mean, well, Mookie's like wizard in the field, and as we were discussing off air before, we have no idea what Dominguez is as a defender.
At the plate, let me make that clear. At the plate,
sure,
he's about to be Dominican Mookie Betts. In the field, I'll leave that alone.
If
he's like an average fielder, I'll take it.
Is there a chance? We'll end on this. Is there a chance he's not your opening day corner outfielder next year? Like, would they send him back to the minors?
Oh, he'd have to stink. And that's possible. He's a 20-year-old in his first cup of coffee in the majors, bro. There's a world where Dominguez is like 130, and they're just like, all right, we'll send him back to AAA because he wasn't at AAA long anyway. So
No, he wasn't.
there's a world where they send him back to AAA, and he starts the season there. Now that that is the biggest part of the reason why I'm taking every Jasson Dominguez hit and success like it's putting money in my pocket because I don't even want to know who the fuck the Yankees outfielders are going to be if it's not going to be Dominguez, Judge, and Pereira in some way, shape, or form. So I need both of them to do some shit and get it cracking and be the future, be all they could be.
But there's also like, does that come at the expense of the Yankees not being more aggressive in free agency and the
Oh,
trade
I've given up
market?
on that, buddy. I've given up. No, I mean, next year is going to go one of two ways. The kids are going to do really well, and the Yankees will make the postseason, assuming reasonable-ish health. Or the kids are either going to be bad enough where they don't start in the majors, and this team is going to be like the 2014 version, which was a lot of old, a lot of mid, a lot of boring. No playoffs, just boring. That's what it's going to be. But I don't
Well,
think they're doing anything in free agency here. Not anything too aggressive anyway. They might fill in like mid tier players. They might do that, but no big time guys. No.
Adam Duvall, I think, just hit his 8th home run in his last 10 games. If he's not on this, like, I want to give him a 3-year deal. I think he's 34. I've seen nothing that says he won't be able to mash at Fenway for the next 3 years. Turner's probably going to opt out. Verdugo is probably going to get traded anyways this offseason.
Didn't Adam Duvall sign as a free agent this offseason?
Yeah.
And he plays left field, right?
He plays center.
He can play left, right?
He can, if you can play center, I'm sure he can figure out.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because the Yankees thought it was a great idea to come into the season with Oswaldo Cabrera starting at left, and Adam Duvall was there. And how much did he make? How much does he make? Like 10 mil?
I think it's 7.
All right, yeah, we can end that on that before I get.
He was like one of the last guys signed. $7 million, and that happened end of January. So like directly before spring training started.
Who could do anything with a power hitting bat like that?
I believe he was hurt last year, which was part of the reason he wasn't the sought after free agent because he's going to end. Let me pull up his page because he isn't going to end up playing a lot of games and still like maybe might like if he keeps going at this rate, he's going to pass Devers for our home run lead. Duvall. So he just hit his 19th right now, and he's played in 73 games. So 73 games. His OPS before that at bat was 921. So the power is there, and he's in his age 34 season.
$7 million.
$7 million. But yeah, that's the Adam Duvall needs to be here for the rest of his career. Pitch from me. Give him 3 years. Just have him there. Have him as your 4th outfielder / DH. I can't see a world where that's a bad idea.
I can.
For you, yeah.
I think it's an awful idea, personally.
But
I think they shouldn't do it.
That's been another week. We'll watch the kids play. I know the Red Sox have called back up Valdez. Abreu's up. Verdugo just left the game with a cramp, and I know they're kind of sick of his shit anyways, so I don't know if he'll be shut down the rest of the year. I just want to watch. We're out of it. Show me the kids. I want Rafael out there. I want Abreu out there. I want Valdez out there. Let me see him because there's no other reason. And Bayo. There's no real other reason to watch the rest of the year.
Man, the Red Sox and Yankees used to be such a proud rivalry. Now we're all talking about playing the kids on September 3rd. It's crazy. Not even Labor Day. We're talking about playing the kids. Wow.
I mean, that's been me like every other year for the last decade. So I'm more used to it.
True.
We
True.
haven't had a fourth place finish. We're either first or last for the last decade. So fourth is uncharted
Very new.
territory. Not a fan. Don't care for it. But I'm Coley Mick.
I'm Kevin Lewis.
We'll see you guys next week.